Hi everybody, today we are going to talk about two more types of quadrilaterals. We're going to talk about rhombi and squares. So if you remember, a rhombus is a type of parallelogram, so therefore it has all of the facts about a parallelogram. So if something is true about a parallelogram, it is also true about a rhombus. However, there are three more specific facts that apply to rhombi that don't necessarily apply to parallelograms. So the first specific fact about a rhombus is that all four sides are congruent. So that's going to be a really useful fact for us. Remember, that is not true about rectangles. This is a new true fact about rhombi. The second new fact is that the diagonals are perpendicular. That means if you draw a line going across and another line going across, those two lines will make 90-degree angles. So actually all four of these angles are 90 degrees. So this is going to be a super useful fact for us. I do want to remind you that for rectangles, the diagonals are congruent. For rhombi, it's different. The diagonals are perpendicular. The last new fact is that the diagonals bisect opposite angles. So we already know that the opposite angles are congruent because that's a fact about parallelograms, but now these diagonals are going to actually bisect our angles. So I actually know that these two are congruent, and I can also say that these two are congruent as well. So all four of these angles are congruent to each other. Remember, these are opposite or alternate interior because we have parallel lines. Also, the total angles are congruent, so if they're cut in half, the four small ones will be congruent as well. Now we can make the same statement about these four. I'm going to give them double arcs. Those four angles will be congruent as well. So if you know one angle given a diagonal, you know three other ones right off the bat. You can also automatically mark 90-degree angles if you have two diagonals crossing because the diagonals of rhombi are perpendicular. All right, so the other quadrilateral we're going to talk about briefly is a square. So a square is the most specific type of quadrilateral, and it actually is a type of rhombus and a type of rectangle and a type of parallelogram. So anything that is true about a parallelogram, a rectangle, and a rhombus will be true about a square. So of course, because of parallelogram, opposite sides are parallel, opposite angles are parallel, the diagonals bisect each other. From rectangles, all four are 90 degrees, and the diagonals are congruent. From a rhombus, all four sides are congruent, and the diagonals are perpendicular, and the diagonals bisect each other. So there's lots of different facts that are true about squares. But today, we are going to focus on rhombi. So now we're going to go through a few example problems. We're going to do three together, and then you're going to try the rest. So you'll pause the video and give the rest of them a try, and then I'll show you the answers for each one. But let's assume that all of the quadrilaterals from here on out are rhombi. So our first job is going to be to find all of the numbered angles in each rhombus. So let's look at this first one. Here, I'm told that this is 54 degrees. Well, I know that that angle is going to be congruent to this one and this one and this one. So I know that all four of those angles are 54 degrees. So I can actually say angle 2 and angle 3 are 54 degrees. So now we have to find these two angles. So another really common strategy we're going to use with these is looking for triangles, because we know the triangle sum theorem that the three angles of a triangle should add up to 180. So we can make the equation 54 plus 54, which is angle 3, plus angle 4 equals 180. We can combine like terms, and we can say that angle 4 equals 72 degrees. And we know that because a rhombus is a type of parallelogram, opposite angles are parallel, so we know, opposite angles are congruent, so we know that angle 1 is also 72 degrees. And there you have it. Okay, let's try another one together. So here, remember when we have a diagonal, it's going to bisect your angles. So these are congruent. But we know that the opposite angles are also congruent, so the smaller ones are congruent to the smaller ones here. So we know that all 4 of these angles are congruent. So let's imagine we call them all x. We can create an equation, once again using the triangle sum theorem. We could say x plus 73 equals 180. 2x plus 73 equals 180. I combine like terms. Now let's subtract 73 from both sides and we get 107. And then we're going to divide both sides by 2. Let's do a little bit of long division to help with our decimal. Drop down the 7. Okay, I need another number to help, so I'm going to add that decimal point. Drop down the 0. And it goes in evenly 5 times. So x equals 53.5. So that means that angles 1, 2, 3, and 4 are all 53.5 degrees. There you go. Okay, last example together. So remember, one of our special facts about rhombi is that the diagonals are perpendicular. So anytime you see something like this, the first thing you can do is go in and mark the 90-degree angles. In fact, all 4 of these will be 90 degrees. So we know right off the bat that angle 2 is 90 degrees. We can tell without even doing any sort of math. That's just a fact about rhombi. Remember, the diagonals are perpendicular, which means they make a 90-degree angle. So we know that this is 90 and we know that this angle is 20. So I'm going to use this rectangle right here in the upper left. And we are going to do the triangle sum theorem. So let's do 20 plus 90 plus angle 1 equals 180. Let's combine like terms. So angle 1 equals 70 degrees. And if angle 1 is equal to 70 degrees, I know that angle 3 and angle 4 are also equal to 70 degrees. Okay, so now for the rest of the problems, I want you to pause the video and give them a try and then check your answer. All right, go ahead and check your work here. Angles 2 and 3 should be pretty straightforward, and then it's just triangle sum theorem. Okay, pause the video again and try this problem. All right, check your answer here. Pause the video again. Go ahead and check your answer. All right, pause the video. Let's go ahead and check our answer here. So remember, even if we're not trying to find one of these central angles, we'd still know that it's 90. So we can say 39 plus 90 plus angle 1 equals 180. And these should all be congruent. All right, go ahead and pause the video. Check your answers here. Pause the video again. All right, go ahead and check your answers. Last one of this type, go ahead and pause the video. Okay, have a look at the answer. For this next problem, here where I would like you to solve for x and y, so you're going to have to use a different property. Hopefully you remember that all 4 sides are congruent. Okay, so there's a ton of different ways you can go about this problem. We could say 5x equals 15, we could say 4x plus 3 equals 15, we could say 4x plus 3 equals 5x, 3y equals 15, 3y equals 4x plus 3. They are all equal, so set them all. You can create a ton of different equations and still get the correct 2 answers. Okay, last problem. Okay, this problem was a little bit tricky. So remember, the diagonals make a 90-degree angle, so we could say 90 plus 8x plus 7 plus 3x plus 6. So this is the triangle sum theorem, and they should add up to 180. Then you can combine like terms, and solve for x. You should get x equals 7. All right, that's all for today's video. Thank you so much for watching.